The Camel's Gift, a tale of honor and destiny. In the vast golden dunes of the Sahara, where the wind whispered ancient secrets and the sun painted the sky in hues of fire, lived a wise and kind-hearted woman named Amina. She was known among her people for her compassion and wisdom, often seen tending to travelers, offering them water and shade under the acacia tree near her modest hut. One evening, as the horizon swallowed the last rays of daylight, a majestic white camel appeared at her doorstep. Its fur shimmered under the moonlight, and its deep, knowing eyes held a mystery that sent shivers down Amina's spine. The camel had no saddle, no markings of an owner, yet it stood tall, gazing at her as if it had come with a purpose. Amina, though puzzled, gently placed a bowl of water before the beast. The camel knelt, drank gracefully, and then nudged Amina's hand with its nose, as if thanking her. That night, the winds howled louder than usual, and in the flickering firelight, Amina dreamed of a great warrior riding the very same camel. His voice echoed in the wind. "The one who rides this beast shall change destiny. It belongs to the pure of heart." Days passed, and the camel refused to leave. The villagers whispered of old prophecies, some fearing the creature, while others claimed it was a divine blessing. Amina, ever the seeker of truth, decided to follow where fate led her. With the camel as her companion, she set out on a journey across the desert, guided only by the stars. Through scorching days and freezing nights, the bond between Amina and the camel grew stronger. It shielded her from sandstorms, found hidden oases, and carried her tirelessly. After weeks of travel, she arrived at a distant kingdom where the people were mourning. Their beloved prince had been captured by ruthless raiders, and no warrior dared to challenge them. Amina, riding the white camel, entered the palace gates, her presence radiating calm authority. The elders, seeing the sacred beast, gasped. Legends spoke of a woman on a white camel who would bring justice. With newfound courage, the kingdom's warriors followed Amina into battle, where she led them with unmatched wisdom. The raiders, seeing the white camel charging toward them, were struck with fear. They believed it to be a spirit beast and fled in terror. The prince was rescued, and the kingdom was saved. In gratitude, the king offered Amina great riches, but she refused. She only asked for peace among the lands. With her mission fulfilled, Amina and the camel disappeared into the desert, never to be seen again. But the legend of the lady and the white camel was told for generations, a tale of courage, destiny, and the bond between a pure heart and a mysterious gift from the sands of time. Years passed, and the tale of Amina and the white camel became a legend whispered in the night winds, told around flickering fires in the heart of the desert. Some believed she had vanished into the dunes, becoming one with the spirits of the ancestors. Others claimed she had ascended to a mystical realm, where only the chosen ones could follow. But deep in the desert, beyond the lands of kings and raiders, Amina and the white camel journeyed toward an unseen fate. The bond between them had grown stronger than mere companionship. It was as if the creature understood her thoughts, responding without a word. They roamed lands unseen by many, crossing emerald oases hidden between the dunes, where the trees whispered secrets of old. One night, beneath a sky scattered with a million stars, Amina awoke to find the white camel standing at the edge of a deep canyon, its gaze fixed upon the horizon. There, shimmering in the distance, stood a golden city, its towers reaching toward the heavens, untouched by time. The camel let out a deep, reverberating sound, almost as if it had been waiting for this moment. Amina, guided by intuition, climbed onto the beast's back, and they descended into the unknown. The air grew thick with mystery, the wind carrying voices long forgotten. As they approached the gates of the Golden City, they were met by an elderly woman dressed in flowing white robes, her eyes glowing like molten amber. "You have come," the woman said, her voice like the rustling of leaves in the wind. "You are the one we have waited for." Amina, though filled with questions, remained silent, for she knew destiny had led her here. The elder led her into the city, where the streets glowed with an ethereal light. People of many tribes gathered, their faces etched with awe. They spoke of a prophecy, a woman of wisdom, riding a sacred beast who would awaken the city from its slumber. The white camel bowed before an ancient altar made of shining obsidian. In its center lay a golden scarab amulet, pulsing with an inner light. Amina, hesitant but drawn by an unseen force, reached out and touched it. The moment her fingers brushed the surface, a surge of power coursed through her veins, her mind flooded with visions of the past, present, and future. She saw the rise and fall of empires, the suffering of people, and the balance of the desert that had long been disrupted. The white camel was no ordinary creature. It was a guardian of the sacred knowledge, searching for the one worthy of carrying its wisdom forward. As the visions faded, Amina understood her purpose. She was not just a traveler. She was the keeper of the desert's forgotten wisdom, destined to guide lost souls and restore harmony. With the people of the Golden City, she built a new path forward, one that blended the knowledge of the past with the strength of the future. Years later, when the winds howled through the dunes, travelers swore they saw a woman in white riding a luminous camel, guiding lost wanderers to safety. Some believed she became immortal, a guardian spirit of the desert. Others said the white camel still roamed, waiting for the next chosen one to carry the legacy forward. But one thing remained certain: the story of Amina and the white camel would never be forgotten. As the legend of Amina and the white camel spread across the desert, seekers and wanderers ventured into the golden dunes, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious woman who had unlocked the wisdom of the ancients. Some claimed to have seen her silhouette against the setting sun, while others swore they had dreamed of a glowing camel leading them through perilous storms. But no one could find the Golden City, and many believed it had vanished into the sands of time. Yet, one man was determined to uncover the truth. His name was Camel, a young scholar from the kingdom of Tassara. Raised on the stories of Amina, he had spent his life studying the desert's secrets, mapping ancient routes, and deciphering forgotten texts. Unlike others who sought the legend for riches or power, Camel wanted only knowledge, to understand the fate of the woman who had changed the destiny of many. With a caravan of supplies, he ventured deep into the desert, tracing the path of Amina's last known journey. Days turned into weeks, and the desert tested him with scorching heat, bone-chilling nights, and whispers of spirits on the wind. His companions, exhausted and frightened by the endless dunes, turned back one by one, leaving him alone with his quest. Then, on the 40th night, as he sat by his dwindling fire, a powerful wind swept through the camp. The sand rose like mist, swirling into a familiar shape. A majestic white camel standing at the edge of the firelight, its eyes glowing like the moon. Camel's heart pounded. Could it be? The camel stared at him for a long moment, then turned and began to walk. Without hesitation, Camel grabbed his pack and followed. For hours, he chased the silent guide through the dunes, his legs weary, but his spirit ignited. Just as dawn broke over the horizon, he saw it. The Golden City, standing tall and gleaming in the morning light. His breath caught in his throat. It was real. As he stepped through the gates, he was met with a strange silence. The streets were lined with statues, their faces eerily lifelike, as if frozen in time. He moved cautiously, his footsteps echoing through the empty city. Then, in the heart of the great plaza, he saw a throne of carved obsidian, and upon it sat a woman, cloaked in white, her face hidden beneath a shimmering veil. Camel fell to his knees. "Amina," he whispered. Slowly, the woman lifted her veil, revealing eyes that held the wisdom of centuries. Though her face was untouched by time, her presence carried the weight of untold stories. "You have come far," she said, her voice neither young nor old, as if it belonged to the desert itself. "I have searched for you," Camel replied, his voice trembling. "The world still speaks your name, but they do not know your fate." Amina studied him for a moment, then gestured to the white camel, which stood beside her, its presence as radiant as ever. "The world remembers what it is meant to remember," she said, "but some truths must be carried forward." She reached into the folds of her robe and handed Camel a scroll, sealed with a mark he had never seen before. "This is my gift to you," she said. "A map, not to treasure, but to wisdom. Guard it well, and know that the desert chooses whom it calls." As Camel took the scroll, a strong wind swept through the city. The air shimmered, the buildings dissolved into golden sand, and before he could react, everything vanished. Amina, the camel, the city itself, leaving him standing alone beneath the vast desert sky. But in his hands, the scroll remained. When Camel returned to Tassara, he shared what he had learned, and the scroll became the foundation of great teachings, guiding generations of scholars, travelers, and seekers. And though no one ever found the Golden City again, the legend lived on, whispered by the desert winds, waiting for the next soul worthy of the white camel's gift. Years passed, and Camel's name became synonymous with wisdom, just as Amina's had before him. The scroll he carried contained knowledge that shaped the future of desert tribes, guiding them in times of drought, war, and uncertainty. Kingdoms sought his counsel, and scholars traveled from distant lands just to hear his words. Yet, despite all his teachings, there was one question he could never answer. What had truly happened to Amina and the white camel? As he grew older, a longing stirred within him. The desert still whispered her name, and at night he dreamed of the Golden City, its gates just beyond his reach. He knew his journey was not over. One evening, beneath a sky ablaze with 1,000 stars, Camel left the comforts of his home and ventured into the dunes once more. He carried no map, no provisions, only faith. He had studied the stories, deciphered the signs, and now he trusted the desert to lead him. Days passed, then weeks. The sun burned and the winds howled, yet Camel walked on, guided only by instinct and the memory of Amina's words. One night, as he rested beneath a lone acacia tree, he awoke to a familiar sound, the soft rustling of sand, the gentle padding of hooves. His heart raced. He turned, and there, standing against the moonlit dunes, was the white camel. Its fur glowed like pearl, untouched by time, its eyes holding the depth of centuries. Camel stood, his breath caught in his throat. The camel lowered its head, as if beckoning him. He did not hesitate. With a deep breath, he climbed onto its back, feeling the familiar warmth of the beast beneath him. The moment he settled, the camel began to move, not walking, but gliding, as if carried by the wind itself. The desert blurred around him. The stars above spun in an endless dance, and for a moment, time felt meaningless. Then, as dawn approached, the world came into focus. And there it was, the Golden City, more radiant than ever, standing untouched by the ages. The gates opened without a sound, as if they had been waiting for his return. Camel dismounted, his heart pounding. The streets were no longer empty. People moved gracefully, their robes flowing like water, their faces calm and wise. He recognized them, not as strangers, but as the statues he had once seen, now alive and watching him with knowing smiles. At the heart of the city, the obsidian throne stood once more, and upon it sat Amina, unchanged, her presence still commanding yet serene. "You have returned," she said, a gentle smile playing on her lips. Camel fell to his knees. "I have searched for you," he whispered, "for so long." Amina nodded. "And now you understand." He did. The city had never been lost. It had been waiting for those who listened to the desert's call, for those who sought wisdom, not power. Amina stood and placed a hand over his. "Stay, Camel. Your journey is complete." For the first time in his life, he felt at peace. The burden of the world lifted from his shoulders. The white camel let out a soft breath, its mission fulfilled. And as the sun rose over the endless sands, the Golden City faded into legend once more, hidden beyond time, waiting for the next seeker to find its gates. But the story of Amina, Camel, and the white camel would live forever. A tale whispered by the wind, carried in the hearts of those who dared to chase the unknown. Many moons passed, and though the Golden City remained hidden, its wisdom endured in the tales passed down through the desert tribes. Travelers spoke of a hidden realm, a place where only the pure-hearted could enter. Some believed it was a myth. Others claimed to have seen glimpses of it on the horizon, vanishing like a mirage. But there was one truth that could not be denied. Those who disappeared into the sands never returned. Decades later, in a distant kingdom, a young girl named Zahara listened to these stories by the firelight. Her grandmother, a woman with eyes that held the weight of many lifetimes, would often tell her about Amina, Camel, and the white camel. "One day, the desert will call again," the old woman whispered, running her fingers through Zahara's curly hair. "And when it does, only the chosen will find the way." Zahara grew up fascinated by the legends, always feeling as if she were meant to uncover the truth that had been lost to time. As she grew older, she studied ancient maps, listened to wandering storytellers, and followed the trails of the old desert scholars. Then, on her 20th birthday, the desert gave her a sign. One evening, as she walked along the outskirts of her village, she saw it. A figure standing atop a distant dune, tall, cloaked in white, illuminated by the moonlight. Her breath caught in her throat. It was Amina. She blinked, and the vision disappeared, leaving only the whisper of the wind. The very next day, a majestic white camel appeared at the village well. Its fur glowed under the sun, its eyes piercing yet kind. The villagers gathered, murmuring among themselves, but Zahara knew what it meant. The white camel had returned, and this time it had come for her. Without hesitation, Zahara stepped forward, placed a hand on the beast's face, and felt a warmth spread through her soul. She understood. She had been chosen. Her journey was about to begin. The legend of Amina, Camel, and the white camel was not over. It was only just beginning.